What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy. We're taking a look at another deck today on TCGO, and this is kind of a twist on a classic deck that's been popular for a while now. In standard and in expanded, Yveltal EX has been paired with things like Gallade, Archeops, like I said, and expanded. But this time, we're going to take a look at arching out Empoleon this time instead. And this is kind of just like a super aggressive take on the typical Yveltal EX deck that we've seen before. So a lot of this looks very familiar to a lot of you guys, I'm sure. First Pokemon we have is Shaman. Obvious reasons, has set up, you draw till you have 6 cards in your hand. Really important, especially on the first turn or two when you're trying to get Maxi or Archie out to get that extra Pokemon out of your discard. So obviously a really good card in every deck. We're playing one Darkrai EX. It's kind of a card I'm on the fence about, to be honest. It hasn't proved to be that useful, but I figured we'll just run one as kind of a backup attacker that isn't weak to lightning, just in case we have to go against something like Manectric or something. So we're playing Darkrai. We're not really using the second attack Darkhead, though you can in certain situations. We're more concerned with using Dark Pulse, 20 plus 20 more for all of the dark on your field, basically. So we play things like Max Elixir to help increase the amount of dark energies we have on the field. And we run so many different damage multipliers. Dark Pulse can actually kind of creep up in damage output if it goes unchecked. So just kind of a neat backup attacker. It's like I said, it's useful in certain situations, especially if you're playing against Manectric. I just wanted to have a decent backup non-lightning weak attacker in this deck. You could opt to play Shadow Circle as a stadium and just cut Darkrai entirely, but I kind of like the stadium we're using, and we'll get to that in a minute too. So these are kind of our typical inclusions. Two baby Yveltals. Great starter, has Oblivion Wing. You get to increase, dark energies from the discard onto one of your bench Pokemon. So it has synergy with Darkrai's attack, like I said, if we want to use that. And it's just good in the early turns when you haven't got a big Yveltal EX set up yet. So running just 2 of those seems fine. And then we're running 3 of Yveltal EX, our main attacker. You guys should be pretty familiar with him at this point. Evil Ball, 20 plus 20 more for the amount of energy on both active Pokemon. And then we have Y Cyclone, 90, and you get to move an energy from Yveltal EX to one of your bench Pokemon. So Evil Ball is kind of like the main thing we're looking at here. And typically Yveltal kind of has to two-shot everything. Not in every case. Like sometimes you can get a lot of energy on your Yveltal and do like a big Evil Ball to get a one-hit KO. But typically Yveltal is going to be two-shotting most things. But in this deck, like I said, we're running so many different damage multipliers. We're kind of going to knock out things in one hit with Evil Ball if possible. And that's where our support Pokemon Empoleon comes into play. So it's kind of a newer card, came out back in Breakthrough. Hasn't really seen much play, but Empoleon has the ability Dignified Fighter. Each of your basic Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, like I said, Empoleon's going to be one of these damage multipliers. So you have things like Muscle Band, Fighting Fury Belt, and now Empoleon as well to increase the damage even more so. And kind of the drawback to Fighting Fury Belt was that, yeah, even though you get a hit point bonus, the damage output or the damage bonus that you get from it isn't as good as Muscle Band normally. But if you play Fighting Fury Belt and Empoleon, you get better damage output than with just Muscle Band, and you get the hit point bonus that Fighting Fury Belt gives you. So I think it's kind of a cool attacker. The main problem with playing Empoleon, though, is you don't really have an answer to deal with Jolteon EX if that does prove to be a popular card going into the States format. But still, like I said, it's kind of a twist on the old type of deck. And so that's it for the Pokemon line. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're just trying to be super aggressive. And if you look at our trainer line, it's very similar to what you would see in like a YZG type of list, or the type of list you would see in expanded. So 3 Acrobike. Look at top 2 cards of your deck. Get one, discard the other. We can throw a Dark in the discard, or maybe even an Empoleon. So there's things we want to get in the discard, and we want to draw a card. So Acrobike's a natural inclusion. For Battle Compressor, search your deck for 3 cards, discard them. So, we really want to get those Empoleons in the discard as soon as possible because they're dead cards otherwise. You can't evolve into them in this deck. So we're doing that to get it in the discard, throw Archies in the discard, maybe some Darks, like I said, just in case we want to use Baby Yveltal's attack as well. One Escape Rope, just as an alternate switching card to Floatstone. 4 Max Elixir, this is kind of another newer card recently. So we look at the top 6 cards of your deck, attach a basic energy card you find there, and attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So, and then you shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So again, we're going to be super aggressive in this deck, and Max Elixir just helps get a lot more energies on our Yveltals even quicker. And like I said, with Max Elixir, it does increase Darkrai's attack power too. So, seems like a good card. It's kind of like a pseudo Dark Patch replacement in the standard format. That's how I kind of look at it. Dark Patch is generally better, but Max Elixir fills kind of a similar role. And we usually hit, I'd say, 3 out of 4 Max Elixirs in a game. So usually only one of them doesn't work, but normally 2 or 3 are guaranteed in my experience testing out this deck. So 4 Trainer's Mail, kind of a staple card. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, pick a trainer card, and put it into your hand, shuffle the rest. So especially on the first couple turns, we're really trying to keep chaining these item-based draw cards to hit what we need until we can get Empoleon out on the field. So Trainer's Mail, just running that in max quantities helps ensure that. 4 Ultra Ball standard. And then for the supporters, most of this is pretty standard stuff. Archie's Ace in the Hole. We obviously need this to get out Empoleon. So you can only play it when it's the last card in your hand. But when you do, you get a water Pokemon, in this case Empoleon, put it onto your bench and draw 5 cards. So we need this to get out Empoleon. And like I said, that's why we're playing all of these other item-based draw cards like Compressor, Acrobike, Trainer's Mail, etc. Just so we can play our hand down to 1 card and play Archie's. So if you notice, all of the item cards, maybe outside of Escape Rope and Versus Seeker, are cards you can play down immediately. So you don't have to worry about them clogging your hand. If you have an Archie's ready to go, you can just play them down immediately and get their effect and get your hand low enough to use Archie's. So, and all the rest are pretty standard. Hex, Lysander, Sycamore, and like I said, this is a really aggressive list, so we're playing Giovanni's Scheme as well. It's one of these newer cards that has 2 effects. You can draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, or this is the effect we're using it for. You can make your Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. So between Muscle Band, Empoleon, Giovanni's Scheme, and the Stadium we're playing, we have so many different ways to boost our damage output in this deck. And it's just another one of those cards that'll help you get one-hit knockouts in certain situations. And for the Stadium card, again, kind of a card no one's really been talking about too much, but I think it has a good place in this deck. And that's Reverse Valley. Again, another one of these weird dual effect cards. We're pretty much just playing it for the bottom effect. So, if this side of the card's facing you, your Dark Pokemon do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So let's just do the math real quick. If you have a Muscle Band, Reverse Valley, Giovanni's Scheme, and Empoleon in play, you're doing an extra 70 damage. And normally, like I said, Yveltal 2-shots things, but with all these different damage multipliers, if they're in play, you're more than likely knocking out whatever your opponent is using, unless they're playing maybe like Primal Kyogre, Groudon, or Wailord. But usually you should be able to knock out most things in the 180 to 210, 220 hit point range. So again, Reverse Value is just another one of those cards that we're helping boost that damage output a little more. And then we have 3 tool cards, 2 float zones, just to give our Empoleons free retreat, or just anything else, just in case we want to retreat. And then we're also playing a 2-1 split of Muscle Band and Fighting Fury Belt. And you can honestly adjust this any way you want. So if you prefer Muscle Band over Fury Belt, you can tweak the counts in favor of Muscle Band. But Fighting Fury Belt, this is one of those newer cards. The basic Pokemon it's attached to gets 40 more hit points, and you do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it basically turns all of your Yveltals and Darkrai's into Megas, essentially. um, so it's a good card. I like it so far. If you're playing against a Mega deck, you might prefer Muscle Band in the matchup. But if your opponent's Pokemon only has 170, 180 hit points, the math for Fighting Fury Belt still works out pretty good. So it's kind of situational depending on which one you like more. But I feel like the split works fine enough. And then we just play 4 DCEs and 8 Dark Energies. Didn't want to go lower than 8 just to make sure our odds of hitting one off Max Elixir is pretty high. And like I said in my testing, I've had maybe 3 out of my 4 Max Elixirs be successful in a game. Sometimes it's lower than that, but generally speaking, 3 out of 4 is kind of the standard for me. But yeah, guys, that's kind of the list. To be honest, I think the Gallade version of this type of deck is stronger, especially since Jolteon is kind of like a hyped card uh, as of filming, as the time of filming for this video right now. But I think it's a cool idea, just a twist on a classic deck, and you'd actually be surprised by how many weird one-hit knockouts you can get with this thing. But I'm going to kick over to the battle video and show you guys what this looks like in action, okay? Alright guys, so here's our battle video with Yveltal EX and Empoleon, and it looks like we're playing against a Grass, Psychic, Metal, and Colorless deck. So we're going to assume one is a Shaman and maybe Hoopa, but really we don't know what we're playing against. So even though we lost the coin flip there, it's not the worst thing in the world, just because we can kind of see what our opponent's going to play and hopefully get an idea of what we're going to need to do to pull out a win on this one. So here we start Baby Yveltal, which is great, honestly. It's one of the best starters you could ask for. And since we're going second, we can attack with it first turn and start pounding up that big Yveltal EX. There, I think I was just debating if I wanted to bench it or not, just in case of like an escape rope or anything like that, but I figured it was fine to bench it. Okay, so Jirachi looks like the metal Pokemon that's in the deck. I mean, that might be somewhat problematic, given that, this deck does play DCE, but it's hard to say. We'll have to just kind of see how his deck is. So, okay, so here we have a Trico and a Mewtwo EX. So, if I just had to guess right off the top of my head, it's probably going to be Sceptile along with Nurture and Heal. You get to attach a Grass Energy from your hand and heal 30 from the Pokemon you attach it to. So if I just have to guess, it's probably going to be Mewtwo or Mega Mewtwo EX, the Y version, with Sceptile to help accelerate a little bit energy and heal. So here, let's see. We have an Ultra Ball, that's awesome. We can get Empoleon and maybe that Dark Energy into the discard. Probably just going to grab Shaman if I had to guess. That way we can potentially hit that turn 1 Archie's Ace in the Hole and get out Empoleon, start doing some more damage. Because if we do get the Empoleon out and get some sort of damage booster like a Fighting Fury Belt or a Muscle Band or something to that effect, we can actually knock out this Jirachi on the first turn. So here I think I'm just poking through my deck, just trying to see what we have, prized and what we have at our disposal. So getting a Shaman, that seems fine. And let's see if we can pull out that Archie's Ace in the Hole on turn 1 here. So we're going to set up for 6. Okay, so we have some options. Here, I think I'm just debating, what do I want to play first? Max Elixir, this Trainer's Mail, or the Acrobike? So here we opt for the Acrobike. Probably just get Darkrai maybe. Um, I don't know if we'll need another Shaman. Yeah, so I like that just because if we do have to attack with it, he's also resistant to Mewtwo as well. Okay, so Trainer's Mail, we do hit the Archies. That's actually really, really big here. And so let's see what actually happens. We can probably Max Elixir to one of our bench Pokemon. Um, Probably to the big Yveltal down there, if I just had to guess. But we missed the Max Elixir. That kind of sucks. But it's not the end of the world. So here we'll just get rid of the DCE. Sucks to get rid of that, but I think it's worth it to get this turn one Archies. So here we can grab something else with Ultra, maybe just another Yveltal EX. I don't think it matters too much what we get in this case. Yeah, as long as we have the bench space for the Empoleon, that's really what we care about here. So awesome, we get the turn one Archies, and we still get to draw 5 more cards, and we have a lot of search-based item cards, or draw item-based cards. Okay, so let's see. We whiff the dark, but because we have Empoleon out, we will be able to actually Sky Return for the knockout here. Because Muscle Band will boost Shaman's attack up to 50, and the Empoleon, since Shaman is a basic, it will increase its damage output to 70, which knocks out the Jirachi. And it's also not bad just because our hand is kind of dead right now. So Sky Returning, getting the Shaman back to play down next turn seems like a good play to me. Here, just getting rid of Empoleon, Lysander, and maybe a Dark, or Giovanni Scheme seems good too. Okay, so let's see here. Definitely going to retreat this Yveltal and attach to Shaman. I think the question is, what do we want to attach our Dark Energy off Max Elixir to if we end up hitting the Max Elixir? Could do Darkrai, but I think probably Yveltal EX is the best option, just because he'll do more damage as they keep powering up these Mewtwo's. And it just seems like the best Pokemon to get all these one-hit knockouts with. So cool. Yeah, I'm guessing we'll probably just see us promote the baby Yveltal here since it does have the float stone on it. And no energy, so it's not really in danger of being knocked out by by Mewtwo or anything like that. So that seems fine to me. So let's see. Yeah, we still don't even know exactly what all our opponent plays, so I'm curious to see what they're going to throw down. So we see a Grovyle. Kind of curious to see if they play Forest of Giant Plants. Just, in that case, if they do, they can get out the Sceptile and start attaching more energy to that Mewtwo. Okay. So we just see them use a turn to Mega Evolve, which, even though that Mewtwo is kind of scary, we will be able to get 2 free prizes off the Shaman because we do have the DC and Muscle Band that we just got back from our previous Shaman. So we can attach that to Yveltal EX to do a Y Cyclone for the knockout here. So we'll probably see an Acrobike if I had to guess. That's a tough decision because outside of Shaman we don't have any draw support, but keeping the DCE does seem good though. Cool. And I think here I was debating if I wanted to Hex or not, just because that would prevent a Nurture and Heal from Sceptile. Or I could potentially even Shaman first, then Hex. That way I get the benefits of using Shaman, but I think I'll just hold on to it. Since there's really nothing else I need for the turn, I don't think. Because we attached and all that, so seems fine. So here, we'll probably just move an energy somewhere on the bench, just in case Mewtwo comes up and tries to hit us for a lot of energy, or for a lot of damage. So, okay, we get 2 compressor. Really not the best prizes in this case, because we kind of have everything in our discard that we really need here. But hey, it gets us closer to winning, so can't really complain much. So Psychic Infinity, I think, just does 100, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, cool. So we have some decisions what we want to do here. We can just swing on this Mewtwo and try to two-shot it, or we could potentially try to just Lysander up something. There's a couple different options. So I'm really not sure what I ended up doing here. I don't remember offhand. Because if we attach the DCE, that will do, what was it? Another 110 with Y Cyclone. Or if we do Evil Ball, that's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40. That's 140, I believe, if I'm doing my math right. Oh, 160 actually. I keep forgetting about Empoleon, the whole reason we play it. So here, just getting rid of a battle compressor. Just because, like I said, we have pretty much everything in the discard that we would really want here. So again, we just have some decisions. I don't know what the best play here would be. I mean, even if we have to two-shot this Mewtwo, it's not the end of the world. Just because, you know, this one Yveltal has already taken 2 prizes. It's a fair prize trade. So we could just attach, see a Y Cyclone onto the benched Yveltal EX. So that's probably what we're going to opt for here. Because, let's face it, this Yveltal is going down, so I may as well get the next one ready to clean up this KO on the Mewtwo. Oh, I see. We actually moved the Dark to it. Apparently we attached the DC already. So, yeah, that's fine. And even for some reason, if he did knock it out, we would still have the DC on the Yveltal EX to retreat. But, alright, so we're seeing a Hoopa come down. That's interesting. Let's see what he gets off that. He really needs a Spirit Link and to start attaching to one of these other Mewtwo's to start powering it up. And potentially get like an extra grass energy down with Sceptile as well. So, okay, so he does get a Spirit Link. Oh, 2 Spirit Links, dang. Or is that the same one? I can't tell. So, Ultra Ball, we could see a second Mega Mewtwo come down. That seems good. If he has an AZ, that would actually be problematic for us. Potentially. Depending on what his hand will be like. So let's see what he gets. Okay, just a Sycamore. That's fine. I'm fine with that. So this is kind of like an awkward match in a sense that like both attackers are reliant on the defending Pokemon having more and more energy. So it's kind of this awkward situation where it's like, well, I want to keep powering up my attacker, same for my opponent, to get these one-hit knockouts, but both of us do more damage based on the amount of energy that we each have on each other. So it's kind of like a game of chicken in a way to see who's going to attach more energy first in a way. Okay, so yeah, we do see the knockout as we kind of expected here. So here we're probably just, I'd imagine, just another Y Cyclone or an Evil Ball just to get the knockout. One thing that would be nice actually is a Fighting Fury Belt to come down, just because Mewtwo can kind of take one-hit knockouts fairly easily, especially if he just gets like a DCE and one additional energy from a Nurture and Heal. That really ups his damage output by a pretty significant amount. So I'll probably bench the Yveltal EX if I had to guess, because I really don't see us attacking with the baby Yveltal anymore for this game. Okay, Max Elixir, that's fine. Cool. So I'm guessing we'll start powering up that other Yveltal EX. Just in case he pulls some shenanigans. And I guess just retreat. I forget if we actually play the Acrobike or not, but yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't, so that works out. And here, it's probably just better to get that Reverse Valley. And we're going to hang on to that probably for next turn, just because we already get the knockout. We don't want to chance that he might have a counter stadium. And so here I was kind of worried this Mewtwo was going to somehow knock me out. And I was having a hard time to, choosing which energy that I wanted to actually move to the benched one. So here I just opted to move the Dark. That way I can retreat this active if, somehow he doesn't knock me out here. Because if he did a Psychic Infinity with a double colorless and an extra energy from Nurture and Heal, I believe he would have knocked me out. Because that would be, what, 10, 70, 100, 30, 60, 90? Yeah, I believe he would have hit me for 190, if I'm not mistaken. So, oh, actually, if I had moved the DCE, it would only have been 160. So, that might be a small misplay on my part there. But here he just concedes. But you can see kind of how quickly the damage output does increase with this deck. Shaman was able to get a prize. For example, these Yveltals were getting pretty huge. I don't know all the math off the top of my head, but, I think at one point we were able to do 160 with an Evil Ball. If we had just had a Reverse Valley in play, that would have been 170. So you can kind of see how easily this damage can add up if these Yveltals go unchecked with all these damage multipliers that we're running. And against a deck other than Mewtwo, where you can kind of freely attach as much energy as you want without worrying about getting knocked out in return, I could have probably played a lot more aggressively and set up some one-hit knockouts, but since they're playing Mewtwo and their damage output increases as mine does, I kind of had to go for two-hit knockouts in this game. But yeah, guys, that's the deck. That's the battle video for it. Let me know your thoughts about it. Yeah, I know it's kind of similar to the Gallade version. Let me know what you think in comparison to that version of the deck. Feel free to try it out. Let me know what you think. Feel free to like and subscribe. Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one, okay?